Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Daily Football Roundup proudly brings to you the best damn podcast in the world, the 12-ounce Curl Route Podcast. I am your host, Aaron Current. You can find me on Twitter or X at Aaron Current. My co-host, Kyle, is on the same platform at DF Roundup, and my co-host, Corey, is not. He likes his slips, so
Yeah.
What's
I don't
going on,
even.
fellas? How was your week?
I want Corey next week when we come into the show. I need you to start. Obviously, you got to turn in the winners, and I'm not sure if you get those back. It's been a long, long time since I've placed a bet with a bet slip. But I want you to make a board or a poster of just the slips that you have, just so we can see them and just hang them in the
Just
back.
fan
Maybe
them
get
out.
rid of that.
Just fan them out.
Just
yeah.
get rid of that shitty
Make it
Patriot
right.
stuff behind you, and put the slips up there instead. You know.
I think sometimes you can get the winning slips back, but they have to do something to it. But 'cause
Uh,
I got my Sugar Sean one back, but
Yeah.
Because you don't have losers. You don't have losers, so there's nothing to show off, right?
now we're gonna everybody's gonna come with me next week, and I'm gonna go 0-6 probably.
Yeah, do have to give the props for anybody that didn't see it posted. And I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Corey. I don't know if it's your first one of the year or not, but Seaflow went 6-0 in the 6-pack challenge this week. Aaron and I, unfortunately, we rode together. Changed his mind late last week in the pot live. He changed his mind live. Rolled with the Chargers over the Cowboys. It burnt him. We went 4-2. You continue to build that lead above us. Aaron and I are one game below 500 right now. So we're getting back. We're getting back.
Early.
Yeah.
We'll make a comeback this week. I think that was the second time Corey's gone 6-0 in this challenge. So he's doing pretty good. I mean, if you follow Seaflow the Slip Man, you're cashing some slips every week. I'm definitely.
And there's only one place to follow Seaflow the Slip Man. That's right here on the 12-ounce Curl Route Podcast, because you can't find him anywhere else. You can't.
You can mail me a letter, and I might respond to you by week 12, roughly. So depending on. So yeah.
Let's
it's
get
good weekend in betting for me. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, man. Go off. Like I told you guys before I came on, I did not have a great week. The 49ers and the Eagles both let me down. I had a $5 parlay where I picked a bunch of favorites, and I was like, well, I'll just put a little bit of money in my account, and they just said, nah, we'll take this week off, but we'll get into the 6-pack challenge and then maybe talk about a couple of games that stuck out to us from last week. The first one was back in London, Governor. It was the Baltimore. I almost said the Baltimore Colts.
Yeah, you did.
The Baltimore Ravens playing the Tennessee Titans in London. We all had Baltimore -4.5, and they kind of made it tight on us, fellas. I was on a different show at this time. But for those that don't know, I do a Bears show every Sunday morning. So this was on at the exact same time, and I was kind of following. I had it off to the side on my phone, and I was like, what is going on? Like, neither team wanted to win. And I think the Titans, I think it's time to just start tanking. Excuse me. I think it's time to just start tanking. I mean, I'd love to see my guy Will Levis, but if they don't see a future with him, let's see what you got in Malik Willis, who you drafted the year before that. I mean, get the young guys in there, because it just doesn't look good, and it feels like they're heading in the other direction. I mean, I don't even know if you'd get a 5th-round pick for Derrick Henry at this point, the way they're using him. It just seems so weird for a Titans team that was the number 1 seed a couple years ago in the AFC. Corey, what'd you think of this game?
I mean, Malik Willis actually did get in the game because I think Tannehill got hurt versus getting pulled. But this was a very Tennessee game. But the Ravens just decided to pad Tucker's stats, I guess. It was sloppy all over. Baltimore, we had talked about, they left right after their Sunday game. Tennessee didn't even get there, I think, until Thursday night, maybe. I think that had a little bit to do with it. It was a gross game. I'm kind of glad I didn't watch much of it. I did. The Lunder was 3-0 this year, and I did bet the under on this one for sure. So But
the London under, or you combine those words?
the Lunder's 3-0.
Kentucky accent coming out, and you accidentally under. I was like,
I can dig it. Yeah, they like their kickers over there in England, so maybe they were just trying to get show them, hey, we've got the best one of these in the league. So
Harry Kane was in the crowd, and he was jacked. Soccer player for those people that don't know.
Okay, thank you, because you could have said any name on the planet, I wouldn't know, unless it was Messi. I can't tell you.
So Kyle, when we get those games in Germany, is it considered the Gunder? Or do we take the Gunder at that point?
I like the Gunder
because I think in November, I believe there's back-to-back weeks of Germany games. So I'll ride with you on those, since I don't know if you made up the Lunder or if you found that somewhere, but we're making up the Gunder right here on the 12-ounce Crow Route podcast.
That's I totally stole the Lunder, but yeah, we can keep the Gunder for sure.
The Gunder
aren't one of those Germany games Chiefs Dolphins? I think I would take the Gover on that one. If I'm not mistaken, that's one of the games over there.
the Gover just doesn't hit.
I tried it.
Yeah, I was watching this game. Obviously, I like these Sunday morning games. It gives you something to do while you're waiting for 1 o'clock. And like Corey said, the game was just it wasn't great. Zay Flowers looked good for Baltimore. I know I said Mark Andrews was going to have 3 touchdowns. I don't even think he really touched the ball. So I looked like a fool there. But almost had a backdoor cover by Tennessee. They're late in the game. They just settled for a field goal, tried to get the onside kick. We got lucky there on that 4.5 because they had gotten it down to the 3 or 4. And then I believe that's when they decided to do the field goal. So thankfully didn't hit, because that would have mean that we went 3-3, Aaron. And we, at this point, we need 4-2 and better every week in order to, 1, catch Corey, and 2, get above under 500. We're getting there. We're 1 game behind, but we need all the help we can get.
Well, I mean, we'll get into it when we get into this week's picks, but we changed it up we tweaked it just a little bit, but we'll get into that later on. We'll get into our next game now. Sunday at 1 o'clock, the New Orleans Saints played at Houston. Houston was somehow the underdog at home. We all had Houston plus 1.5, and it hit. I mean, Houston wins the game. Kyle, you're on record of saying that the New Orleans Saints are not a good football team, and you don't believe in them. I believe Derek Carr turned the ball over a few times in the red zone, which really hurt them in this game. And I don't know, man. It's kind of ugly, but maybe – I mean, Houston traded away their first-round pick this year, so they literally have nothing to gain by losing games. So good for them to start winning games and stay competitive in that division that looks wide open now that and we'll get into it in the next game. But, now that some other things have come to light in that division, we're all on board with Houston here. We like their coaching staff. CJ Stroud looks really good. Corey, tell me about your Houston Texans. I mean, you can't really cheer for your team, but I feel like Houston's kind of your team this year.
Well, I mean, they used to be the farm team for the Patriots, but now I might start buying Houston Texans gear at this point.
They got the same colors.
Yeah, hey, not too much trade over. I'm good. I love Houston. CJ Stroud threw his first interception. That's good. Get it out of the way. But I'm with Kyle and like New Orleans is just not a good team. Alvin Kamara is the best player, and even he's just pissed now. He's like, "Damn, I came back for
video of Jameis on the sideline talking to him."
Kamara's like, "Dude, back up, get out of here, dude!" Like, so yeah, good for Houston. They still have a viable shot. Trevor Lawrence is we'll talk about that here in a little bit. I think he's still going to play, but that's a big factor that's happened now in that division. And then with the Colts, AR-15 going down as well for this season, so it may open up for Texans. Like you said, they don't really have a good draft pick. I mean, until like the 2nd or 3rd round. So why not?
Mm-hmm. Kyle, tell me about this game.
Yeah, I mean, New Orleans for the past 2 or 3 years, they're still trying to get away from Drew Brees, and they're still trying to get away from Drew Brees' money. And right now they're paying 2 quarterbacks. They're paying Winston. They're paying 3 quarterbacks. They're paying Winston, they're paying Carr, and they're paying Taysom Hill. You may say he's a tight end, I say he's a quarterback. And you can't put all this money into your quarterbacks and expect and quarterbacks plural, not singular. You know, these big money contract guys, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Lamar, Deshaun Watson, they don't have the best backup quarterbacks behind them because they can't pay for somebody. The Colts, who just lost to Anthony Richardson, have Gardner Minshew, who a lot of players, a lot of people around the league have a lot of faith in that guy because he has the moxie, he has the charisma, and he throws the ball better than Uncle Rico, even though he looks like him sometimes. But you can't put all this money into these quarterbacks. It's like they're trying to get away from the ghost of Drew Brees. I don't think the Saints are a great football team. I think they're middle of the road. I didn't expect them to win this game. Houston plus 1.5 was easy to me because Houston, while on paper they may not look good, on the field they have.
Yeah, and that's free money. And I mean, New Orleans has really, they've really struggled with this salary cap thing. Like year after year, they seem to be the team that has to cut dead weight to get under the cap. Ryan Pace came from that and almost ruined the Bears with that. I mean, and that's what Ryan Poles, that's how we tanked last year, was he had to get rid of a lot of those bad contracts that Ryan Pace signed these players to. And now, you know, they're trying to dig out of it. And New Orleans is as well. I mean, they've got some aging players on some big contracts. You know, their defensive end, is it Cam Jordan or Jordan Cameron?
Cam Jordan.
He's really good, but
he's worth every penny of his contract. But still, yeah, like you're saying, that every year somehow they're above the cap.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
It's just it's just bad contract structuring, and they try to push the money off, and then eventually you got to pay the piper, man. And I don't know if New Orleans has really just bit the bullet and started a straight up rebuild, and eventually they're going to have to. I don't know. They're going to keep going with Carr for now, though, and we'll see how that goes. The next game, you kind of alluded to it a little bit there, Corey, is a 1:00 game. Indianapolis at Jacksonville. Jacksonville wins this game 37-20. We all had Jacksonville -4. It seemed like a full-on conclusion. It was Gardner Minshew going back to Jacksonville. Anthony Richardson was hurt, and now we know that his season is over. And I'm sorry for him. I know I came on here and ripped him during the draft and all that, but when he was on the field, he was playing well. But he has to learn not to take those hits, or this is going to be the result of many of his seasons. I've seen it myself in Chicago. So not much to report on here other than injuries. There's a possible was it a back injury to Trevor Lawrence that he's dealing with?
It's a knee injury.
Injury. So that'll hurt him. You know, that's if your star quarterback can't go, and I'm not sure who they have behind him. I didn't really watch any of this game. I just watched the ticker at the bottom and saw the score. They
have Beathard, CJ Beathard.
Well, he's not terrible. I mean, he wasn't terrible in San Fran, but
that was like 10 years ago. It feels like.
Wow. Yeah, I know, right?
Wow. Yeah. I mean,
it wasn't that long, but it was a long time ago.
Feels like it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jacksonville wins the game at home. You know, they were the favorite. We all picked them, and not much more than that. Corey, can you tell me what you saw in this game?
Travis Etienne scored 2 touchdowns in 17 seconds, but they have plenty of weapons around there. Lawrence seems to think he's going to play tomorrow. Now we just said they're playing the Saints, which we just trashed 3 minutes ago. I still think with or without Trevor Lawrence, Jacksonville can win the game. But this is a rest of the season type thing right now with Trevor Lawrence. Like if they lose Trevor Lawrence, CJ Beathard, he's a decent backup, but he's not Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
And you may be able to still win that division, maybe with all that talent. Their defense is slowly coming together, getting better, led by Josh Allen from Kentucky.
Yeah.
So I don't know. They need to win the game tomorrow for sure. I don't know if if they get a sizable lead, you definitely take Trevor out if he's playing in the first place. But with that quick turnaround, I don't know.
Yeah, it's almost like they could get a mini bye if they sit Trevor out because they don't have the bye week. They decided not to take their bye after London, which they had the choice. Hey, you're spending 2 weeks there. You can have your bye afterwards. They said no, and now Trevor Lawrence he picked up a knee injury at the end of that Jacksonville Indianapolis game, which I believe that was the second time Indy and Jacksonville have played each other this year. And I think Jacksonville won both times.
They won by 10, and they won by 10 in week 1, and then they just won by 17.
But that week 1, that week 1 was not. That was ugly. It was an ugly win too. This game wasn't as close as what it says, 37-20. It wasn't that close. Jacksonville won this game handily, but not a lot has been said so far on Trevor Lawrence, and they play tomorrow. So
yeah, that's a tough one, man. I don't know what I would do. I feel like I would probably. I know it sucks to sit your starting quarterback, but if you sit him in a Thursday game, then he's got even more time to get right for the next one. So
10 days off.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of 10 days off, our next game Sunday at 1:00, the Minnesota Vikings at Chicago, and myself and Kyle had Chicago plus 2.5. And Corey had Minnesota minus 2.5. The Chicago Bears went to Washington on Thursday and won a game, and then came in Sunday morning and decided, everything that worked last week, let's throw that out and start all over. DJ Moore, NFC Offensive Player of the Week. He gets 1 target before Justin Fields gets injured, by the way. Dislocated thumb. He tried to break it back in and go back into the game, but they said he couldn't grip a football. He's probably not going to play this week, and he's out 1 to 4 weeks. So more injury news, more bad news for the Chicago Bears. And I'm going up there this Sunday to see Tyson Bagent play against the Brian Hoyer-led Las Vegas Raiders.
Garoppolo's not playing.
So I'm excited. It's my first time at Soldier Field. I've never seen them at Soldier Field. I've seen them in Cincinnati. I've seen them in Cleveland. So it's my first game at Soldier Field, and I'm meeting with some of the guys from my podcast. So I got all that, going for me. But it's just not looking like a really good game. And the defense, for all the shit I've given them for defense, their defense actually showed up and played really well. They're stopping the run well, and a lot of those younger guys in the secondary are stepping up. Now, granted, this is the Vikings without Justin Jefferson, but they only gave up, you take away 12 points defensively, because one of those was a fumble that was Scoop and scored. So not terrible for a defensive effort, but the offense just looked out of sync, off track. Brian Flores was bringing the blitz, which – shocker. That's what he does. He blitzes. He blitzed 70% of the time, and it seemed like the Bears were just caught off guard by it and didn't know what to do. So they tried to throw screens on the outside, and their corners just locked us down. It was a ugly, ugly game, and I watched every second of that ugly game. Corey, did you watch any of this? I don't blame you if you didn't, but tell me.
I did not. 289 yards. That is how much passing was in that game. Total for both teams. That's awful. Minnesota got the win, but Minnesota doesn't look that good. That was against the Bears. And, sorry, Aaron, but that was just – I feel bad for people who had to watch that game. That's tough. But, Minnesota's going to have trouble moving forward. I don't think they're going to tear down their team or anything, but – without Justin Jefferson there, it's pretty tough right now.
These wins push them out of range for a franchise quarterback going forward. So maybe Kyle, like you said, Kirk Cousins gets another 2-year extension to stick around in Minnesota. I don't know.
Well, I don't think he's going to waive his no trade clause from what I've read. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see Kirk Cousins. There's not going to be a lot of better options out there. And Justin Jefferson's young. He wants Kirky back. You've got Jordan Addison, who they just drafted in the first round, Hawkinson, who they traded for. They have a young core of pass catchers on this team. Heck, even Alexander Madison's young. Whether he's their running back of the future or not, I don't know. But Kirk Cousins, he's not a bad quarterback. He's not.
Yeah, a lot of
But-
people call him like the median line of quarterback play, but I feel like he plays above that. I would say Jimmy Garoppolo is closer to like the median. Like if I can get this out of my quarterback, I might be okay if I have a great defense. Like, but Kirk Cousins plays above that. As long as he's not in prime time, I feel like he plays above that median line that everyone puts him on.
And Kirk Cousins plays unlike Jimmy G. But you keep this veteran quarterback who the teammates, from what I've gathered, what I've seen, they like him. But when we were going over the NFC North and we looked at what the Vikings did this offseason, I remember saying they did nothing to get better. They did absolutely nothing in the offseason to get better. And maybe it was to shed some money and look forward to the year after, but it didn't look good. I mean, I didn't really watch any of this game either. Had Justin Fields stayed in, I think Chicago probably could have had a chance to win this game. But when Bagel came in at quarterback, which is what I'm going to call him because, it just sounds better. It was, I know a lot of Bears fans, and Aaron even put it on X on Twitter, that everybody wanted to see Tyson Bagent. Everybody wanted to see this guy at quarterback. Well, here you go.
Yeah, it kind of sucks that he just got thrown to the wolves against that defense, though. Like, learn on the fly. By the way, here comes a zero blitz. Like, good luck. He did score the only touchdown. I know you're going to give your guy credit, Kyle, for Justin Fields. Like I said, I still love Justin Fields, but he looked awful in this game. He looked indecisive. He looked like he regressed back to the Tampa Bay Justin Fields that we saw, rather than what we had seen the last 2 weeks with him stacking games, pushing the ball downfield. And I don't know if the blitz threw him off or I'm not sure what it was. Our right guard went down in this game. He's out for this next week as well. So we've got Ja'Tyre Carter, a 6th-round draft pick from last year, playing that position. And at one point, him and the center were blocking each other. I don't know if you guys saw that on tape.
Oh, boy.
So that was – I tell you, my son plays for a middle school team that looks more organized and ready to play than this Bears team sometimes. There's no other way to put it.
I can't wait until we're doing like a draft show come April next year, and Aaron is just hyped up because the Bears have the number 1 pick, because they're either getting it from Chicago's pick or from Carolina's pick. But either way, I get to see Aaron come April like a little kid on Christmas, just with a big smile on his
Isn't
face.
it sad that that's Christmas for Bears fans is the draft? We don't get to look forward to playoffs or Super Bowls. We look forward to the draft. And the guy that everyone loves, Caleb Williams, looked awful against Notre Dame last Saturday. I know this is NFL, but I mean, that's relevant. And then a story came out this week that he wants like part ownership of whoever drafts him. Like, dude,
yeah, good luck.
I don't know who you think you are, but you are not Peyton Manning. Even though those guys didn't get any of that. So why would you get it? I don't know if it's him or his dad putting it out, but it makes the kid
it's both of them. And look,
it makes him look like he thinks he is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And dude, you got to eat some humble pie sometimes. I know since middle school, you've been the best player on your team, D1 offers, and everyone giving you everything probably on a silver platter. But you have got to bring it into focus and realize I just threw 3 picks at Notre Dame in a game where the Bears brass were up in the press box. They were there to watch, whether it was him or Joe Alt or whoever they were there to watch. They were there to see it live, him throw 3 interceptions. So that's a big thing coming out of Caleb Williams' camp. But I think we've thoroughly covered. Unless you got something else, go ahead, Kyle.
Here's what I'll tell you, since you brought up Caleb Williams, and I had to do a quick Google search to get this guy's name. I'm a sucker for the movie Draft Day. And Caleb Williams, to me, seems like Bo Callahan. Nobody went to Bo Callahan's birthday. Bo Callahan didn't read, the playbook that was given to him by XYZ organization and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He might make it to the league, but if he acts the way that he's acting, and he will make it to the league, but if he acts the way he's acting, he's not going to last for very long.
Does it kind of give you Johnny Manziel vibes, where he's just been this terrific athlete his entire career and has gotten by without watching tape or or trying to do. I don't want to say he doesn't go above and beyond because I heard that he watched Baker Mayfield tape to get ready for to be in the offense of Lincoln Riley because he knew he didn't have the physical skill set that a Kyler Murray has with his running ability, or I think Jalen Hurts was the quarterback before that in that offense. So I don't want to say he doesn't watch any tape, but when something like that comes out, it really rubbed me the wrong way and almost makes me want the Bears to trade out of the number 1 pick if they have it again and get a boatload of picks and just grab Marvin Harrison Jr. with the 2nd overall pick. Like, I don't know if I want this guy on my team. Like, I hate to say the word cancer, but it seems like he's a cancer and he thinks he's better than he is. And I hate to say that about a kid, but that's what it looks like to me. Corey, do you have any thoughts on Caleb?
Yeah, I mean, he's hurting himself. I mean, there'll be a team that takes him early. There's just going to be a team because he has that much talent. But I mean, after that game that was just played against Notre Dame, Drake May looks way better. I hate to say this, Aaron, Bo Nix looks better.
Yeah.
And Penix Jr., who will win the Heisman, looks way better. So I think what you should do with the first 2 picks is you take Drake May and then you take like Penix Jr. or somebody and figure it out. And then trade the other one away.
sounds like Bears, what I do on Madden all the time.
Bears fans would have PTSD for a North Carolina quarterback wearing number 10 coming back.
Oh, that's true.
Like,
I forgot about that.
They wouldn't even give the guy a shot. They just like, get this guy off the team, get him out of Chicago. I don't know. We'll move on, though. Staying in the NFC North a little bit, though. Sunday at 4:25. The Detroit Lions travel to Tampa Bay. Like I said, I threw this one on the schedule because I wanted a late game on there, and there really wasn't a whole lot to choose from. We all picked Detroit. Detroit went down there. They took care of business. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is Baker Mayfield a little banged up after this game? I thought I read something about ribs or something.
I think his left hand. I believe they said there was tape on his non-throwing hand. So ribs, I haven't heard ribs, but so he might have.
It was David Montgomery had his ribs busted up in this game. So a couple of injuries coming out of this game, but I mean, Detroit's got the depth, and like I said, this team just looks really good. And they're like, I think Corey said at our season kickoff, they'll probably have the division wrapped up 4 or 5 weeks before the season's over, and they can just kind of coast into the playoffs. I mean, hopefully sometimes that bites teams in the ass when they try that. But Corey, what did you watch this game? What did you think of this one?
I think Detroit just keeps rolling. It's a good thing they do have depth, and it's a good thing they do have 2 great good running backs right now. Jameson Williams is going to come on eventually. He's already looking pretty decent, even though he's not getting the targets, but that's not really his thing. He's just going for the long ball. But Jared can sling it. I mean, he can throw piss missiles down there with the best of them. So, I mean, Detroit, I teased this one up to 6.5. I kind of wish I teased it up more. Detroit just looks that good. And I think you can throw them up. I'm still not ready to say they're the top team in the NFC, but they're definitely top 3.
I mean, they're throwing their name in the hat after what Philly and San Fran showed us last week. So.
Yeah, but of those 3, Detroit won. Yeah. So and they looked great compared to the other 2.
Yeah, and Tampa wore those creamsicle orange uniforms. They looked really good, but they played like the Buccaneers played when they wore those for real. Like that, they just didn't look. They just didn't look ready. They looked outmatched, overpowered, and I think Detroit's going to do that to a lot of teams.
That's tough too because the Bucs came off a bye.
Came off a bye. Kyle, tell me about it.
I think once Mike Evans is a full go for that Tampa Bay team, they're going to be fine. Baker loves to throw it up to Mike Evans, and Mike Evans is the most consistent wide receiver that has ever played this game. He consistently gets 1,000 yards receiving every year. So he'll probably, as long as he doesn't have a long-term injury, he'll have 1,000 yards again this year, which is wild to think. I didn't see too much of this game, but you said 2 great running backs, Corey, or 2 good running backs. I saw a clip today of last year. I believe Detroit was Hard Knocks last year. And Dan Campbell was trimming down the roster, and they were this close to cutting Craig Reynolds. And Deuce Staley and some of the other coaches said, You do that, some of the offensive linemen are kind of going to come knock on your door, and they're going to want to know what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, one of these running backs go down, and the next one pops right up and shoulders the load. Whether it's Gibbs, Montgomery, Reynolds, hell, you could probably put St. Brown back there, and they'd be fine at running the ball. Detroit has one of the best offensive lines in the league. I could probably gain at least 1 yard per carry behind that offensive line. So yeah, Detroit. I don't know that they're better than San Francisco. They might be better than Philadelphia, but I'm not ready to say that they're the top team. I'm comfortable to say top 3 in the NFC.
Yeah. But I mean, if it's coming down to the end of the season and they're in play for one of the top, it's only the number 1 seed to get the bye now. So that might be something for them to still play for toward the end of the season. We'll get into our last game, the Monday Night Football game. The Dallas Cowboys traveled to SoFi Stadium and beat the Los Angeles Chargers 20-17. Myself and Kyle had the Chargers +2. Corey had Dallas -2. The only thing that I went to bed. I didn't watch this game. I watched half of it. But the only thing I've seen from this game is the Asian woman going crazy on the sideline. And it said something about when Herbert throws a pick at the end of the game to blow it. And so I guess the Chargers had a chance to cover our spread, Kyle. They just did the Charger thing and blew the game. And Corey, you've picked Dallas twice now, and one time it bit you, one time it worked for you. So tell me about this one, man.
It's amazing what happens when you throw the ball to CeeDee Lamb. That son of a bitch is good at football. Throw him the ball. It's insane. There was still some bad run plays that kind of pissed me off with the Cowboys. They just death taxes, and he was going to run it on first and second down. And it was, it was awful. It was awful. But if it wasn't for the Chargers charging, Brandon Staley should be fired. Whatever. We talk about it every week. Dallas, they get a much-needed bye. I think they come back out looking a lot better. They need to fix a few things, but I think Dallas I might put them as the 4th or 5th best team in the NFC still. They got the talent still. So.
And defense will take you places. Defense travels. So that's definitely they're in the conversation. Go ahead, Kyle. Tell me about
their defense, though, it's getting banged up. They lost Diggs for the season to a torn ACL in practice. We're not talking about a game. We're talking about practice. And then Leighton Vander Esch, I think, is on IR too, who's one of their starting middle linebackers, or their starting middle linebacker. So it's their defense is getting those injuries, but they do have some depth on that defense too. They don't have anybody, Rico Dowdle. They don't have anybody behind Pollard. If Pollard goes down, which I don't think he's being utilized the right way anyway, but if he goes down, I will tell you at one play from that when Dak was scrambling around, hit Pollard over the middle. Pollard got out of that tackle too and took it another 40 yards.
Yeah, that was wild.
That was an insane play. But I mean, the Chiefs were in this game till the end, and I don't think that they should have been. The Chargers, them too. I didn't catch.
Dallas beat the Chargers and the Chiefs.
I didn't catch that call at that near the end of the game when the Chargers guy pushed the Cowboys guy into Kevontae Turpin. And then the Chargers recovered it. I don't understand that because I feel like that's illegal.
That was a bad call. That had to be interference, and then they didn't call it interference, and I couldn't hear what they were saying because I was watching on mute. But to me, that's the same thing as interference. I don't know how it's not. And then if they thought they hit that, they just assumed that it hit them. I kind of wish I'd have heard what was going on that because I thought that was just bullshit.
It was, really weird because I didn't get a chance to hear the explanation of that either. But really this game down, I mean, it could have really gone either way. Mike McCarthy, like I said last week, I'll say it every week that we're on here. If they don't win a playoff game, Mike McCarthy is out. I can tell you that right now. And Dallas would be an organization that a lot of head coaches, past head coaches or guys, hell, Bill Belichick may retire from the Patriots and go coach the Cowboys. But that's going to be a job that's going to be highly sought after. And same thing for the Chargers when Staley gets fired at the end of the season too.
I think their defensive coordinator would be number one in line for that, and Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn.
I mean,
you think Jerry Jones isn't going to call Deion Sanders and say, "Hey, Deion, let's put a star on both of your boys, and you come coach the Dallas Cowboys"?
I think there's a reason why they kept Dan Quinn in town, because Dan Quinn turned down interviews. I know for the Bears put in for an interview and they turned him down. And he just kind of said, "I want to stay in Dallas." I feel like there's people chatting, in back tunnels. It was setting it up already. I don't believe in Mike McCarthy. Aaron Rodgers drug him to a Super Bowl with a great defense, as you know, Kyle, and he's kind of still living off of that. I don't think he's a good coach. I don't think he makes great decisions in crunch time. I mean, he's got a history that shows that. But yeah, it's good for them on winning it, but it was just kind of which one's going to screw it up at the end of the game, and Staley again shows his true colors, but he's not the favorite coach to be fired first. That belongs to the Las Vegas Raiders coach, according to odds. That belongs to
Josh
that one. I almost said Mike McDaniel. That's not it.
Did McDaniels last a full season in Denver? He did, right?
I know when.
Yeah, because they went 6-0.
As soon as he showed up, he traded away Jay Cutler, and I don't know what the hell he did after that. He had Kyle Orton, who my father-in-law swears was better than Jay Cutler, but the numbers kind of tell you something different about that.
Two things about this Dallas Chargers game before we move on is the Chargers shouldn't even been there in the first place, because that was a bullshit call on that kickoff. And second, as it sits right now in the playoffs, it would be Dallas at Detroit at Ford Field. So that would be fun. That would be fun.
That would be a fun game. That'd be a physical game.
Yeah,
for sure. To watch that. But a couple I know there's some games you guys want to talk about from last week, but the two biggest ones have got to be San Francisco losing and the Eagles also losing. And while San Francisco lost, they also lost Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey, and Brock Purdy kind of reverted to he couldn't throw the ball down the field. It's almost like Ayuk and George Kittle. Like, I have George Kittle in some fantasy leagues, and I think he put up a point. Like, how do you have a top 3 tight end in the league? I don't feel like I'm stretching saying that. It's Kelsey, Andrews, and him, in my opinion. And he puts up a fantasy point. Like, how is he not targeted, especially with Deebo and McCaffrey out? Now, who did San Francisco have come in at running back? I was watching the game, but I could not tell you who that running back was that came in.
They had Jordan Mason and Elijah Mitchell. So Elijah Mitchell is his first game back from a knee injury. He took less snaps and less carries, but Jordan Mason has been backing up CMC for the past few weeks.
Yeah. 5 carries, 27 yards in the tutty. Jordan Mason did.
Mm-hmm.
They like Jordan Mason there, though, so I don't know. For me, that's wild that this happened without Deshaun Watson. They were Cleveland was on their third string quarterback.
Former Bears quarterback PJ Walker, who could not throw a pass completed in training camp. The Bears cut him. That's why they have Bagent as their backup, because he literally was awful in training camp. They brought him in to be the veteran backup behind Justin, and he was not good. But good for him to land on his feet, and maybe he'll start this week too. I don't know what's going on with Deshaun Watson, man. That's wild to me.
And then, he said he's day to day with his injuries. What I read.
For me, it's the Jets are going to fuck around, and that defense is going to get Zach Wilson in the playoffs. That defense is insane, and they still I don't think Sauce played, and I don't think the other
Sauce was out.
So this is crazy.
Yeah.
So I mean, the Jets, if they can put something together and Brees Hall, every time he touches the ball, he goes for 40, it seems like.
Oh, man,
So this might be Zach Wilson might replace Trent Dilfer if somehow they get to the Super Bowl. Like, it's insane, the Jets defense.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, there's times, I mean, I've watched Aaron Rodgers for the past however many years he was in Green Bay. And there was times against Philadelphia and even times in this season that I've watched Zach Wilson throw the ball. And I can tell, same thing with Jordan Love. I watch these two guys throw the ball sometimes, and it's like, that's Aaron Rodgers. And it's not really Aaron Rodgers, but they have the same mannerisms that Rodgers has when he's throwing the ball. And they've probably picked that up from Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
And that's my guess is that's going to help you. It's helping Zach Wilson. But I guarantee you having Rodgers back in the building, talking with Zach Wilson, saying, do this, do this, do this. I'm willing to bet you that Rodgers would have a very successful career as a coach in the NFL if that's what he decided to do. And I don't think he's going to.
Right.
But
they put a lot of time in.
I feel like he would have a successful career as a coach.
Yeah, they showed that their relationship on Hard Knocks, which was something I watched this year. And even though Rodgers went out on the fourth snap of the season for the Jets, his like you said, Kyle, his fingerprints are on that organization, and crazy to see him out there with no crutches throwing the ball. Like I saw that clip all this week. This guy had Achilles. Was it Achilles or ACL? He had a leg surgery a month ago, and he's already out there throwing the ball. Like I thought his career would be over after that. Maybe not. Maybe A-Rod's got one more run in him. I don't know. But kudos to Zach Wilson for. I mean, I wouldn't say carrying the team. Obviously, the defense is carrying him, but we've seen teams be carried by their defense to the Super Bowl. I watched Rex Grossman go to a Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? With Urlacher on the other side, dragging his ass along. But it's I don't know. I mean, kudos to the Jets. They screwed me on my bets, but they got some fight in them, and that's a tribute to their coach, really. Robert Saleh, I like him a lot. His defensive scheme is really good. He mixes it up, and he's got the horses on his defense. Quinnen Williams is one of my favorite defensive tackles in the entire league, and he's so young and just gets the job done, man. I don't know. We'll get into this week's games, though, and like I said, there's a couple of things that we changed up. We tried to tweak it a little bit so that maybe we can make up some games and not have the same picks every week. So the first ever 12-ounce Curl Route podcast, big spread of the week. This was the biggest spread. Buffalo at New England. It's +9. The over-under is 41.5. The money line for Buffalo is -410. For New England is +320. Man, this – Corey, tell me about this game, but I know it's your team.
It's pretty cut and dry. I picked Buffalo to win. I got a lot of futures on Buffalo. New England's trash. I'm taking Buffalo. I'm done with New England. It's bullshit. Yeah. All of it's bullshit. They're trash. Ramonde went down. I don't know who the hell our receivers are, even though they cost $100 million. Bullshit. It's just trash. They're unwatchable. Unwatchable. I'm getting my Texans gear next week.
You get that CJ Stroud jersey in, I guess, but I just that's a big number, a big spread, and I know that New England has been blown out, but it seems like every time I trust one of these big spreads, it comes back to bite me in the ass, and there's a backdoor cover or something. But I mean, if you're telling me, Corey, I'm going to take your word for it. You know this team a lot more than I do. Buffalo's got the team to do it, to blow out the New England Patriots at home. Give me Buffalo -9 as well. It's hard to bet against that team, man, and especially the way New England's put on bad performances week after week this year. Go ahead, Kyle.
I think one of the most intriguing things for me with New England is that coming into the season, they flat out subjected them to waivers.
Yeah.
Bailey Zappi and Malik Cunningham. Subjected them to waivers, signed both of them to the practice squad, I believe, the next day, and then signed who was the quarterback for the Panthers? Was it Will Grier? Was it Will Greer that they
yeah.
signed to their active? They signed him to the active roster. Then they've had Bailey Zappi, I think, come in and play for Mac Jones when Mac Jones hasn't been playing well. And then they just signed Malik Cunningham to a 2-year contract. I don't understand it. Now, Malik Cunningham in the preseason, he's a runner. He is a runner.
Well, we watched him at Louisville, Corey, so we've seen Malik.
I don't know if they're going to design a special package around him and stuff like that. Regardless, I don't think it's going to work. Buffalo tends to play games against teams, or Josh Allen tends to play up or down to the level that he's playing with. However, New England has looked terrible, and Buffalo at times has looked really, really good. So I'm on as hard as it's going to be with this big spread, and I think that this is going to be hard every week that we do this. Yeah. But I'll take Buffalo -9.
Yeah, a lot of those points, Kyle, points to Bill Belichick, the GM. Rather than, I still think Belichick's a good coach. His defense, when he has healthy players, it held Miami to the lowest point total this year. So it's not like his defense just doesn't work all of a sudden. It's just the GM, Bill Belichick, doesn't make the best decisions, and Robert Kraft trusts him so much because he's brought him so much success and so many rings in the past that it's hard for him to ever pull the trigger and fire Bill Belichick in any role. You know what I'm saying? In his organization. At some point, something's going to have to happen one way or the other. I don't see New England sticking. You know, it's the Patriot way, Corey. You know this. Like, they're not just going to stick to doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. And I don't see New England and Robert Kraft sticking with that. I think they'll move on from Bill Belichick, either the GM or the coach at the end of this season, especially if it continues going this way.
I will say this. You're okay. He's been there for however many years, 20 plus years, whatever. He's not had a bad season except one, maybe. And that wasn't really that bad. So you're allowed to suck sometimes at your job. With your two best players going down on defense by far.
Yeah.
And you just trying to be not changing anything. Like, eventually he's going to have to change something. I think he's fine through the year unless he wants to retire. I think there's a good shot that we go ahead and draft Drake May or try to get up there to get Drake May from North Carolina. And then see if that Mac's not the guy. Mac's trash. I'll be hard pressed to watch another Patriot game this year, probably. Yeah. It's tough.
You're not going to watch this to see if New England can cover. Maybe put something on the money line in case New England pulls it out.
No. I'm leaving Kentucky alone now after that bullshit, and I'm leaving New England alone after that bullshit. So I'm done betting on these two teams.
Corey, since you don't really know how to use the internet, do you have to travel down to Houston to go buy a jersey for the Texans, or how does that work for you?
I have my wife get on Amazon or something.
I know you don't bet online, but Fanatics Sportsbook has a thing where if you make a $50 bet, you are able to pick a free jersey. Like, this is a free plug for you, Fanatics, but true, yeah. I did that and got me a Walter Payton jersey. I was like, this jersey cannot suck. There's no way.
That's true.
It can't go down in value. So I went with the old faithful. So we went with our big spread of the week for the first one. And the next one is the nail biter of the week. This is the smallest spread. And you guys said this is the Thursday night game. I didn't look. My bad. Jacksonville at New Orleans. New Orleans is a 1-point home favorite. The over-under is 39.5. Money line for Jacksonville is plus 100. For New Orleans is minus 120. I'll pick first. I know you guys keep saying New Orleans sucks. I picked them to win that division. They are at home. It is hard to play in New Orleans when that crowd is rocking, and especially if Trevor Lawrence can't go. Give me New Orleans -1 at home with a little bit of voodoo magic in New Orleans to get this dub. Tell me about it, Corey.
I think even without Trevor Lawrence, I think Jacksonville is just a way better team, and they're +1. So I'm going to take that. If Trevor Lawrence plays, they win by a touchdown and some change. So I don't know. I think they're just too talented. I think they can run all over New Orleans. So for that reason, I'm picking Jacksonville.
Yeah, I mean, when I throw voodoo magic in my pick, that's probably not a good sign. Kyle, tell me about it.
So there's a reason why I was in the group chat this week saying, hey, uncertainties with Trevor Lawrence. Maybe we should change the game. Maybe we shouldn't pick on this one because we don't know if Trevor Lawrence is playing. And we didn't do it. Nothing against you, Aaron. Way to leave it in there and really make us think about this.
Just fire me, man.
Terrible. This one it is a nail biter because we don't know Trevor Lawrence's status. I'll tell you, in fantasy, I decided in the league that I have him, I picked up Jordan Love, and I'm going to start Jordan Love over him because even if he does play, what percent is he? I heard on one of the shows that I listened to that he may be playing with a brace this week, and Trevor Lawrence has never played with a brace on his knee before. I've also read that he's progressing very, very well. There's so much uncertainty around Trevor Lawrence. I think that if Trevor Lawrence isn't out there, even if New Orleans isn't great against the run, they can still load the box and dare C.J. Beathard to throw against them. I don't know the status of Zay Jones or anything like that, and I've already said that New Orleans is not a great team. But I think when your starting quarterback is out or not playing at 100%, Joe Burrow and the Bengals, it shows. So give me New Orleans -1 on this one.
Oh, shit. Here we go, Kyle. We're on
not looking good for us, Aaron. Not looking good.
New Orleans.
It's a rickety track, and we're on it.
New Orleans, you know what they say? If you got 2 quarterbacks, you got 3 quarterbacks. You don't have any quarterbacks.
You don't have any.
Well, I think they got one. I like Derek Carr. I know he gets a lot of hate, but I'm a Derek Carr fan. I think he's a good dude. The next game I think is, I don't know. I know they don't. I don't think they flex yet. Well, the Sunday night game is really good too. This game is probably the best 1:00 game of the week. Detroit at Baltimore. Baltimore is a 3-point home favorite. The over/under is 42. The money line for Detroit is +140. For Baltimore is -160. -166. Baltimore at home is a -166 money line. This is Corey, can you go first? Because I have no idea where I'm going on this game.
This one's pretty tough for me. I picked the Browns to win the division, but Baltimore, their defense is so stout. But when you play that game like you did against Tennessee, and you somehow lose that shit show game against the Steelers, yeah, you might be first in the division, but I think Detroit's just better. I'm actually going to hammer the money line on this probably. And I think Detroit wins, I don't know, maybe by 4. You can't kick field goals against Detroit. You just can't.
You better hit it early because I bet that money line's already moved if I had to guess. Kyle, tell me about this game and I'll pick last.
So aside from quarterback, when I look at these two teams, they're built similar. I mean, if you think about it, you've got J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, Melvin Gordon, name a running back, and he probably plays for the Ravens right now. On the other side of the token, you have David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, Craig Reynolds. You have one really good – I'm not taking anything away from Jamison Williams, but he hasn't played a whole lot. You have one really good wide receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown, really good and young. You have one really good young wide receiver in Zay Flowers with the Ravens. You have a top-tier tight end, Sam Laporta. He's coming on hot. Yeah. Mark Andrews, he's been hot, right? Their defense, their coaching, it's almost like you take Baltimore and you make them the Detroit Ravens, and you take the Lions and you put them in Baltimore, and it's almost the same damn team, aside from the difference of styles in your quarterback. One can run a whole lot better than the other, and I think one of them can throw a little bit better than the other. But Baltimore hasn't really been consistent this season. Detroit has been consistent. They've showed up, they've showed out, they've beaten teams. I'm with Corey. And I'm not only, I don't think Detroit should be given points in this game. One thing I like to say on this show is Detroit doesn't have to win for me to win this bet. They're getting 3 points. So give me Detroit +3.
Damn it. Well, the way you were setting that up, I thought you were going Baltimore. You talked about Sam Laporta. Rookie tight ends usually don't hit right away. It takes them a year or two to get in, learn the scheme, learn the assignments, do all those things. Sam Laporta has become a safety blanket for Goff, and you got Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I've seen Roquan Smith in coverage. Let me just tell you, I've seen it. So God bless. I got to go with you guys. I got to go Detroit +3. And I hate that we tried to change it up and we're still picking the same teams, but I just think Detroit's the better team, and it starts up front. Give me their offensive line against Baltimore's, who I don't know if they're 100% healthy or if their guys are back. I think they're going to really focus on defense of keeping Lamar Jackson in the pocket. Easier said than done, but they go against this twice a year against Justin Fields, and they were able to do it really well last year, even though Justin was literally ripping off 60-yard runs against teams. They were able to keep him in the pocket, make him make difficult decisions, and for all those reasons, even though they're on the road, give me Detroit and the Fighting Dan Campbells on the road at Baltimore. So we're all in agreement on that one. Again, another game at 1:00, a divisional game. Atlanta travels to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is a 2.5-point home dog or home favorite. The over/under is 38.5. Money line for Atlanta is +114. For Tampa Bay is -135. I'm going to go first on this one because I have already made up my mind, and I don't need you guys talking me into some sense and changing it. So give me Atlanta. I think they focus on Bijan Robinson. Tampa Bay has shown, even when the Bears were there, they were giving up big runs. The Bears just decided not to run the ball anymore. I think Atlanta is smart, and they will run the ball, and they will do what works. And then when they start to key on that, you hit them over the top with Drake London or Kyle Pitts, please. I mean, he's on your team. Use him. So give me Atlanta on the road +2.5. And I had to choose it before you guys talked me out of it. Corey, give me your pick.
Actually, Kyle, go ahead on this one.
Oh, Kyle.
So one thing I've said all season, and I'm going to continue to say it, Atlanta, I'm not impressed with Atlanta. You draft Drake London, you don't know how to use him. You draft Kyle Pitts, you don't know how to use him. You draft Bijan Robinson, even though Tyler Algier went for 1,000 yards the season before, and you don't know how to use him. They are not giving Bijan Robinson the ball to make big plays. They consistently give it to Tyler Algier and have Bijan out there running routes. I don't understand it. I really don't get it. You focus on Bijan and you open things up, you're going to be able to hit Pitts, Drake London, Mac Hollins. They got another wide receiver, Van Jefferson. You're going to be able to hit these guys with your 45-year-old looking quarterback and Desmond Ridder. When are we going to get to see the Green Weenie or whatever his name is? What
Green Weenie.
Green Wizard.
The Green Wizard. There we go. Sorry, the Green Weenie was from the Army days. But they don't know how to use the playmakers that they have. Tampa Bay, on the other hand, they have a good defense. They're kind of like the Saints. They're post Tom Brady right now. Yeah. Tampa Bay going into the game against Detroit, they were 3-1. 3-1, 3-1, 4-1.
3-1.
4-1, 3-1.
3-1.
They were 3-1. They've looked good. Baker Mayfield looks like a first-round quarterback. He's not playing lights out or anything like that, but he's playing well. I don't like Atlanta. I'm not going to ride with Atlanta. I probably never will ride with Atlanta until they get a new quarterback. So give me Tampa Bay -2.5.
Well, I'm glad I picked before you because you were talking sense there, Kyle. Sometimes the coach, and I've seen it several times, tries to be the smartest man in the room and says they're all expecting it to go to Bijan, so let's put him out here and then hand it to our 1,000-yard back from last year instead of just using the players you're paying. And they paid a lot of money. And defensively, they paid a lot of money for Calais Campbell and Jesse Bates, who have came in and played decent. But I don't know. I got to make up ground somehow. Give me Atlanta plus 2.5 still. Corey, are you ready?
Yeah, sure. I looked at this game and I was like, it's I don't know. I don't know. Look, Atlanta doesn't have to win the game to get me the victory. So
There it is. There's
I'm
the
just gonna
line,
say-
Kyle.
I'm just gonna say that late field goal or something happens at the Pirate ship. That's the only thing I can think of. I will probably not be watching this game.
Let me ask
Yes.
one question.
Sir.
So the Bears blow out the Commanders, right?
Mhm.
And the Commanders beat the Falcons. So dare I say
It's
the
a fact.
Bears are better than the Falcons, right? Right? I mean,
Yeah.
No.
I still don't know why. I still don't know why Ritter's in there. I don't know. I don't know why.
When's their bye, Corey? I
Their
know it put
bye.
me on the spot. Do you know when their bye
The
is?
Falcons bye
Week 11.
Yeah, week
I
11.
have Bijan in all of my fantasy leagues. It's week
Yeah.
There you
11.
Yeah, that's I was gonna say maybe they'll give him till the bye to figure it out, but week 11 is kind of late in the season.
I mean, I believe Atlanta's 3-3 though. I mean, it's not like they're losing
They are.
every
This is
single
division.
game.
This is a divisional matchup. Obviously, 3-2 versus 3-3. Or the other thing too with me is I'm not 100% sure Mike Evans is back
Yeah,
at full 100%. So I think that does matter too.
yeah. Your point there, Kyle, that was really good about Baker. He's really went down there and just wants to be a point guard. He just wants to spread it around and yeah, he's playing better than I expected for sure. We'll get into a great matchup Sunday Night Football. The Miami Dolphins traveling to the Link, as they call it, Lincoln Financial Field, to take on the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are 2-point favorites at home. The over-under is 52. Ooh, that's big. Money line for Miami is plus 105. For Philly is minus 125. Corey, tell me about this game, brother.
I am hammering the money line for Miami, hammering the over. Philadelphia, look, we've seen Miami lose, and it was kind of weird, but that Philly loss against the Jets was kind of gross. The Philadelphia this year is not the Philadelphia of last year at all, and I think Miami, even with their one or two hiccups that they've had this year, I think they're starting to get the groove together, and I think this game is going to be up and down, left and right the entire time. And is Lane Johnson out for good in Philly for this game? I can't remember. That's a big issue
thing.
right there. I just think Miami's rolling right now. Philly, that was a surprising loss. I think unlike San Francisco bounces back this week, I don't think Philadelphia does this week. I'm taking Miami.
Miami plus 2. Kyle, are you looking up the Lane Johnson thing?
I don't know. There's conflicting reports no matter where you look at it. So it's not, I don't know if he's going to play. I do know that there was an alert on my phone today that Devontae Smith did not practice today.
Uh-oh.
However, Philadelphia will have a future Hall of Fame wide receiver. Now, whether he suits up in Julio Jones, we'll see. But A.J. Brown is playing right now like a future Hall of Fame wide receiver as well. So is Tyreek Hill. I actually, 2 days ago, put the $3.98 left that I had in DraftKings and put it on the futures for Tyreek Hill to be the MVP because the guy is 100 and some odd yards short right now of 1,000 yards receiving. Wow. He has a legitimate chance to get 3,000 yards receiving. I think that this is going to be a Jalen Waddle game. I think that we see Jalen Waddle have a big game this week. I think that Mostert continues to carry the load until he can't anymore for the Miami Dolphins. And if he can't, well, guess what? Jeff Wilson's coming back. And Jeff Wilson has played in a system before with Mike McDaniel. You take away one guy in Miami and you have another, but Philadelphia is built, I wouldn't say the same exact way, but they're built similarly, just with not as much speed. Remember that Tua is the reason that Jalen Hurts left Alabama.
Yeah.
DeAndre Swift, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott. They've got running backs out the wazoo as well. They've got Dallas Goedert, who they haven't used right this year at tight end. I think Devontae Smith, if he's out, would be a huge hit, and Lane Johnson being out would be a huge hit as well. But I do think that they'll have Taylor Swift's brother-in-law, Jason Kelsey, out there at center. So there's always that.
True.
However, with the way Miami's been playing, even if they're – and going into Philadelphia is not easy. Miami doesn't have to win this game for me to get this bet right. I think that they do because Philadelphia has not looked like Philadelphia this year. I'll take Miami +2.
Man, you always set it up one way and then flip it on its head right at the end where I think I know where you're going with your pick, and then you just say, gotcha, bitch. And you flip it. This game was very difficult for me to pick because to me, who's the team that beat the crap out of Miami? Buffalo. How did they do it? Physically. How is Philadelphia built? Physically. All of this points to me that Philly should win this game, but Philly has not looked the way Philly looked last year. And I love Miami. I love their head coach. Did you guys hear after week 5, someone told him that he was on track to beat the greatest show on turf? And they were like, what do you feel when you hear something like that? And he goes, I would say successful. He said that was – we went into the whole offseason planning for week 5, a week 5 goal of being on track. God, I love that guy. I love that guy. He is so great. And a story came out this week of him getting fired with the Houston Texans and falling into alcoholism and fighting his way back, and he hasn't had a drink in a few years. And it's just a wonderful story with him. However, I have to make up ground in this one way or the other. Therefore, it might be a little chilly in Philly. Hey, that rhymes. Give me Philly at home -2. I think they physically try to impose their will. We see quite a few tush pushes to try and help them on their way. And I'll be honest, when I put this game in here, I was completely expecting to go Miami. But the more I thought about it, who beat Miami and how did they beat Miami? And how is Philly built? I have to go Philly -2. I just have to. And maybe I'll make up ground. Maybe I'll look like a big idiot on here next week and I'll be at the bottom of the standings. We'll see one way or the other. Kyle, we're going to be different.
I will say this. You talk about the link. Now, there is no games at the bank, but there's a game Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I don't think the fans in Philly are going to be worth a shit come Sunday.
I don't know, man. Those fans get up.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
One thing they do.
I'll tell you, Keegan and I, the Crusher and I's goal over the next however many years it takes us is to visit all 30 NFL stadiums. And one of the few NFL stadiums that I'm afraid to go to, like I am like, this may not be a good idea. Maybe we go to a
preseason game.
Maybe we go there and we get an Eagles jersey and we cheer for them. Because those kids are not afraid to cuss people out either.
They throw snowballs at Santa Claus. They're not scared to cuss a kid out.
So that's one that I am afraid to go to. That what would have been Oakland. I don't think I would have wanted to go to Oakland. Las Vegas now, that's not really a home game anymore for them. And the New York's I think would be. I feel like Buffalo would be a nice place to go to. I feel like Buffalo fans, when they're not jumping through tables, are probably pretty nice people. But yeah.
Yeah, they've been through a lot up there in Buffalo. But cold weather. That's the only thing I think of. The final game of this week is the Monday Night Football game. The San Francisco 49ers going to Minnesota. Minnesota is a 7-point home dog. The over-under is 44. The money line for San Francisco is -298. For Minnesota is +240. Again, Justin Jefferson on IR. With San Francisco, we don't know about a lot of their injuries. Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, what's going on there? Is Brock Purdy going to revert back to his original self, or is he going to continue? Are some of these defensive coordinators seeing some cracks in the armor and finding ways to attack him? I do not know. I will say Minnesota in every single game has won or lost by one possession. So you give me +7 at home. I hate to say it, but I got to go Vikings +7. I think they probably don't win this game, but they do enough to keep it close. Brian Flores is going to bring the blitz, make Brock Purdy think, and especially if they don't have Christian McCaffrey back there, it's going to be a difficult game. As bad as it looks like on paper. As I said, I don't think Minnesota wins, but I do think they cover the 7. Corey, please tell me about this game.
From what I've seen, I think CMC will be ready to go. Debo, maybe not so much. Look, we talked about coaches having bad games. Brock Purdy's allowed to have a bad game. All right.
Yeah.
Even though he was Mr. Relevant, I think he's better than that. So, and then where I said Eagles won't have a bounce back game, I think the 49ers do. Even though this is at Minnesota, I think San Francisco covers relatively easily because that defense is just that nasty as well. So,
yeah,
I'm taking the Niners probably by 10.
This was the other game for me. I was in the group chat like, hey, maybe we get away from this San Francisco game because we don't know about CMC, we don't know about Debo, but hey, the 6-pack challenge has to go on whether there's players playing in the game or not, right? I think that this is a lot like – it's not a lot like San Francisco going to Pittsburgh because San Francisco – I think San Francisco were road dogs going to Pittsburgh to open up the season. Brock Purdy, I mean, without CMC, without Debo Samuel, he didn't look good, but he's not playing Cleveland's defense this week.
That's
Nobody's going to look good against Cleveland. I can tell you that
true.
Right now. Does Minnesota have some playmakers on defense? They sure do. Are they going to have them in 2 or 3 weeks at the trade deadline? Probably not. But with that being said, I mean, there's too many guys on San Francisco's offense. And I think Trent Williams is also slated to play on Monday night too. I wish we could make this decision and pick this game right before
Friday
kickoff
night.
and say, hey, this is, closer to game time. But I have to go and say CMC plays, Debo plays, Trent Williams plays. I know Justin Jefferson isn't for Minnesota. And I'm with Corey. I think San Francisco wins. I think this is the first game that Minnesota loses by more than 1 touchdown because they really haven't played. I mean, if we look at their roster, they played Philadelphia and lost by 6. That was a backdoor. I don't know what the spread was, but they got those points late. They lost to Tampa Bay to open the season, lost to the Chargers by 4, beat the Panthers by 8. Lost to the Chiefs by 7. And then just beat the Bears by 6. But the Chiefs haven't looked like the Chiefs either. The NFL is weird, really weird this year. But yeah, give me San Francisco. And they're one. I did the same thing as Aaron. I put a parlay together. There was about 5 teams in it. And of those teams that should have handily won this week, San Francisco and Philadelphia were both in that parlay.
I was for that field goal to go through at the last second, and it just went right.
Hate to see it.
You guys are probably right. I'm probably going to lose that one, but I've already said Minnesota plus 7, so I'm not going to change my mind every week. You guys made excellent points, and Minnesota may get blown out, but it is what it is.
I will say this: we only have 2 games that we did together, and then there's quite a bit of mix up. So,
I will say that Aaron is riding by himself on Jacksonville. I am riding by myself with Tampa Bay. Corey, you're riding by yourself on I think I wrote that down wrong. You have Philly, right, Aaron?
Yes.
No. Yes, you took Philly. Okay, let me fix that. Aaron's riding by himself with Philly, and then Aaron is also riding by himself on Minnesota.
2 and 4.
Could be quite a shake-up this week for sure.
Yeah. So there's a lot of games that there's somebody riding by themselves too. So,
will you all get over 500?
I would say that either Aaron or I will probably be over 500 this week. I'm willing to take that to the bank. And if not, then we need to have a bye week.
Yeah. I don't feel great about a lot of my picks, but it is what it is.
Just oozing confidence over there, Aaron.
I know, man. I just you guys make great points, and we all know football, but just knowing football doesn't always mean everything. Like I said, I had a parlay with a bunch of favorites. I paid $5 to make 30. The Eagles lost to the Jets, and the Niners lost to the Browns. Like, I did not expect that.
Aaron, I made really great points last week as to why the Chargers should win and change your mind. And we have the same record in the six-pack challenge, Aaron. So it's not like you don't know football as well. It's what may be a great point on Thursday night isn't a great point on Sunday when they play.
True. We could show up Monday night and Christian McCaffrey and Debo can be out and Trent Williams can be out, and I can be like, so you're telling me there's a chance?
And then they still lose by 21.
Right. I mean, it could happen.
And I'm only up 6 games after all said and done. So it's not like it's just blown out everywhere now. I mean, it's still anybody's game.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. But when you are getting 1 or 2 game leads in the week, it doesn't help us. But mark our words, Corey, you may start the season strong, but either Aaron or I will be at the top of the six-pack challenge come the end of this year.
Whoa, bold, sir.
Well, is there any other games you guys want to talk about for this week before we get out of here and get ready for Betty by time? I don't know why I said that. God, I'm an idiot.
Whoa, what grade are you in? All right, so the only other one that I seen that I'm kind of interested in is Chargers Chiefs. It's -5.5 Kansas City, and it's at Arrowhead. I think that game's a little bit closer than that.
Yeah, I almost put that one on here, but I was just like, we put Kansas City in a lot, I feel like.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact numbers, but
also Steelers at Rams. That should be pretty fun.
Yeah, that would be a fun game. And it's going to be full of Steelers fans in there. There's not going to be a huge contingency of Rams.
I'm pretty sure last week it was like 80-20 Dallas at SoFi.
Yeah. I saw that coming. I mean, Dallas, they do their training camp out there still. So and you guys know Dallas, they're all over the freaking planet. Kyle, tell me what's up, brother.
So I know, and I think I said this before the show and stuff too. Green Bay's traveling to Denver. And I said last week when we got on here, I said, I'm never betting with the Packers, yada, 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 yada. Packers are -1 against the Denver Broncos. Surely, and Corey, maybe I'll get your input on this so I'm not just betting with, my heart here. There's no way the Packers lose to the Broncos, right? If they do, then I'm getting on that same plane with Corey. We'll fly out of Cincinnati. We're going down to Houston and we're getting CJ Stroud jerseys. Because
that's a lot. That's a lot of money for a jersey, bro. Like
that's the only way Corey knows how to get them.
Yeah, buddy. You think I'm using a plane? I'm driving.
He's riding the train, buddy. He's old school.
I got the Atlas out. Let's go, buddy.
But surely Green Bay is going to beat Denver by more than 1 point, right?
To me, that's
on paper.
Yeah, I think the Packers win nice in that one. And the over-under's 45. I don't know what they've been watching, but I'm going to hammer the under on that. I think Packers win that easily.
Plus, Green Bay's coming out of their what, Corey?
Bye.
They're coming out of their bye. And you'll never see me wear my Jordan Love jersey after they lose. They couldn't lose on their bye, so I was able to wear the jersey.
Whoa, there you go.
Glass
half full over there.
Is all over the internet, so they can scout that really easy.
And is Aaron Jones coming back yet?
They added James Robinson to the practice squad this week. They were kicking the tires on him last week. I don't know if that is hey, let's add this guy for Aaron Jones type of ad, or hey, let's add this guy because AJ Dillon just he's not ready. AJ Dillon needs to be parked in the garage because he's that all-weather truck, right? The end of the season, December, January, that's when you ride AJ Dillon. Aaron Jones is your sports car. It's time to get him out, and it's time to show him off right now. I think the bye week really helps. I haven't looked at any practice information on him. I have him in my home league for fantasy, and I'm starting Rodgers. I'm not starting Rodgers. That would be terrible of me. But I'm gonna roll Jordan Love out there and Aaron Jones out there against Denver in the same league. But remains limited. This is today at 3:31. Coach Matt LaFleur says Jones was limited at practice Wednesday. Has yet to log a full session since straining his left hamstring week 1. But it's not back to 100%. So, yeah. I don't know. He might be out there in a limited capacity. He did come back against
put up 2 fantasy points.
Whichever team he came back against, and they probably lost. Let's see.
Awesome.
Against Detroit, yeah, and he had 6 touches in that game. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see. I don't know if they necessarily need Aaron Jones to beat Denver. I think that A.J. Dillon could do enough damage, and you got Christian Watson and Dobbs and Musgrave and Jaden Reed and a lot of these other young guys. In 3 years from now, as long as this young core sticks together, or in 2 years, and Jordan Love is the quarterback that he needs to be, Green Bay is going to be rolling. But it's hard. It's hard this year being a Packers fan. This happens to us once every 15 years. We transition from Hall of Fame quarterback to Hall of Fame quarterback. And
right.
Like a Bears fan, I do. It's tough. I don't know how you go through this every year, Aaron.
We look forward to the draft.
Yeah.
Hopes and dreams is what
I don't know. I don't know why I didn't even realize, even though we've talked about it, that Detroit already has a 2.5 game lead in week 6. Going into week 7. That's insane.
Yeah, they also hold a win over Green Bay too.
Yeah.
Surely they'll sweep the Bears, so you can count.
And I don't think they've even played the Vikings yet. Yeah.
No, they've only played the division game. They played division game.
So I mean, unless something drastic happens to that team and they just get bit by the injury bug, and I'm out there running behind that offensive line for 1 yard to carry, I think the Lions have the NFC North locked up.
Yeah. Well, I know you guys don't want to hear about it, but I'm going up to Chicago this weekend to watch the Bears and the Raiders. For all the faults that the Bears have, my co-host on my Sunday show is cousins with Andrew Billings, who plays defensive tackle for the Bears. He hooked us up with tickets, and it's against his former team, so he's got a little bit to play for, a little bit extra to play for. Really happy to see him. His numbers have been good regardless of wins, losses. Like his PFF grades have been really good, and hopefully that's a guy that they keep around in Chicago. We had him on in the offseason when he was a free agent, and we were kind of throwing out the recruiting pitch to him. So we're excited for it. We're going up Saturday. Gonna get some good Chicago pizza, maybe a hot dog and some Portillo's for an Italian beef. And I look forward to Chicago these days. Like I always go up for a Cubs game, and this is the first time I'm going up for a Bears game. But the food, I like the city as long as you know where to be and where not to be.
Yeah.
Right. We're going up Saturday. I'm really excited to meet up with some co-hosts from the Barroom Network, which is the podcast I'm on every Sunday, and just hang out with friends. And I mean, I've been on it for 5 years. They almost feel like family. We got one guy who actually went to his first Bears game last week against the Vikings. He flew in from England. He is my co-host on the Barfly Tailgate show. So meeting him is going to be really cool. And he's excited, to meet me, and the wife's going up with me. But yeah, I mean, it's less about the game, especially now that Fields is hurt, and it seems like is Hoyer for sure starting, or is it a Aiden O'Connell? I know they got Aiden O'Connell who they drafted.
From what I understand, Hoyer is starting.
Yeah,
it'll be Hoyer.
Spent half a season in Chicago and played really well. He's him really well, Corey. He's I'm surprised he's not still in New England. I guess Josh McDaniels kind of.
I just say because New England Junior over there is got all the Jacoby Myers and everybody else.
Yeah. But I'm excited for my trip to Chicago, and if the Bears win, which is always the goal, So it's going to be a good time. I think I'm wearing my Walter Payton jersey. I don't think with Fields being out, I can't really wear that jersey. I got a Alshon Jeffrey jersey, and I thought about duct taping the word Bagent over the Jeffrey name, but I don't know. Probably
I
not.
think that's the way you should go.
You think that's the
I
move, Kyle?
100% absolutely. And what I'm going to tell you, Aaron, enjoy your time in Chicago. Have as much fun as you can, because come Wednesday next week after the Bears lose, I want you to keep that positive attitude coming into next week. The Raiders are not a 3-3 team. They're not great. But as a Bears fan, I'm going to continue to tell you this every week. You shouldn't hope for W's at this point. You need to wait for Christmas in April. Santa's coming. He's coming, buddy. You just got to be patient, and you got to wait for Christmas in April. Hope to see good things.
A new head coach too.
He needs to bring in a new head coach, and that might come sooner than April. You might get Christmas and you might get Christmas in December, really, with a new head coach.
Especially if Michigan raises that championship.
Well, the Bears are one of, I believe, the only team or one of the only teams that have never fired a head coach in season. And I don't know why they feel like that's a hill to die on, but we've seen some terrible ones in there in Chicago. And this one's an all-timer. There has never been a Bears head coach that through this many games in their tenure has not won back-to-back games ever. He has never won back-to-back games. A 2-game win streak. We can't do it. It's awful. But we'll get out of here. I'm excited to go to Chicago. Ton of football. I'll probably watch some college football at a bar somewhere Saturday night. The Kentucky's not playing, so they can't break my heart Saturday. So I'll just be watching some Caleb Williams, maybe some Drake May. I don't know. But we'll get out of here and see y'all next week. Bye.